welcome to DevUP Talks. And today with me I have Simon Wåhlin, which is from my side at least a very known person, but from integration space might be a bit unknown. So Simon, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, thank you. Yeah, my name is Simon Wåhlin. I work at a small consulting firm in Sweden. We're called Unwanted, and I work as a cloud architect. So I help all our customers with pretty much anything regarding Azure and Azure strategy and design. We do a lot of governance and security work primarily, but pretty much anything that the customer wants help with.
Cool. And if I would go out, so this is actually from live. This is actually what I get. So if I talk about Simon and I talk about Wåhlin, I usually get this. Oh, the PowerShell guru.
Yeah, so I started, or my career took off when I started with PowerShell in 2008, I think. And I've been doing a lot of PowerShell work and content during the years. Nowadays, I don't focus that much in PowerShell, but I definitely use PowerShell every day in some way. It's my favorite weapon of choice when it comes to automation.
Nice. And you clearly the market least, because that's for sure. So you talked about it. It's a little bit different today. So what is your focus right now?
So a lot of our customers are starting to dip their feet on the AI hype wave. It's a lot of AI agents and AI-based systems going on. We're not doing a lot of AI implementations. I use AI in my work every day, but we're not building AI systems. But what we are doing is building governance and security. And whenever a new customer or a customer wants to build a new AI-based system or something with AI, they usually start thinking about governance even more than they did before. So a lot of my projects today are helping customers understand how they can guardrail and govern infrastructure that the AI runs on or manages. So any impact of an error or hallucination is as small as possible.
Nice. So from these projects you have been doing, is there anything you would share knowledge to the audience? Like this is a pro tip.
I think regardless if you use AI or use humans, having a good governance framework that makes it, in best case, impossible, but at least hard to do a mistake is very good. Because if you have a platform where it's hard to make mistakes, it's easier to delegate access and to have people move faster. Like the harder the guardrails or the higher the guardrails, the lower the risk of errors and costly mistakes. The higher speed you can have and the more you can innovate like within that boundary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very important to have like a separate sandbox environment where you can actually innovate without guardrails, so you can learn and do mistakes somewhere where it doesn't really matter. So have a good dev environment where you can play and explore and innovate, and have a more stringent or lockdown production environment where you can deploy fast, move fast within the confinements of what you're comfortable with.
Sounds like a good helpful advice, because as we have seen, bringing AI into production has been troublesome. And one of the things that I've been hearing is either you get too much playground, meaning playground everywhere, which means you have no control at all in production, or you are so locked down in dev and test, so you can't do anything. You can't innovate. You can't test everything.
Absolutely.
I really like.
And I think that is like a lot of the questions we are getting when new customers are reaching out. We have two types of customer, or two types of requests. Usually it's a customer where an operations department or a traditional IT department reaches out and are saying like, our developers, teams, whatever they are moving too fast. It feels like everything in our environment is a playground, like, or we need a way to put some governance on parts of our environment. Or we have the opposite question where the responsible for applications and like more business IT teams reach out and say like, we have a centralized IT operations. They have locked everything down. We can't move. Help us find a common ground. And I think it's really fun and exciting when you get to see both worlds and try to like make sure to use like CI/CD and automation in a way where it's very free to innovate and do experiments in one environment, and then you can have like stringent controls. You do everything as code. I like using Bicep, but we can also use Terraform if the customer wants to, and actually have automation that checks everything, merges everything into a controlled environment and deploys it without any human intervention. So in the best of worlds, a developer or someone responsible for a single system can have like one place where they can go wild and test things, and maybe have controls on cost. So you can't deploy enormous things that costs thousands of dollars an hour by mistake. And in the other environment, you can have expensive stuff, but it has to be controlled and approved, and yeah, no configuration mistakes.
Exactly, governed.
Yeah. And getting that sweet spot is really fun. Trying to find a sweet spot is very fun.
That's nice, because I would say that's a challenge.
It is, absolutely.
Because I've seen the end part, too much or too little, so to say, governance. And I really like it, because I would say, if we talk about the governance, because governance is at least from my point of view, a hot topic right now. It has changed quite dramatically the few months. How's your opinion on that?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think both with AI, but also with the changing security and threat landscape, there's been a lot of new incidents where leaked credentials have come into wrong hands, or someone has basically been breached in some way. So companies are more interested in holding a good hygiene and a good security, but also like when delegating to for example AI and AI systems, it gets even more important to have a good governance control. So it's absolutely been an increase in interest of governance and security in general, which I think is very fun.
I totally agree, because that's the fun part, because development speed has been increasing like crazy.
Absolutely.
That's what we've seen the last couple of months, and we also seen the mistakes, as you said. We have everything from configuration mistakes, or developers trusting the AI too much, or things like that end up in production. And the responsibility part has also been a little bit different. Have you seen any of that? Because I've seen some strange stuff. So
I don't think a lot have changed. Like as you say, the speed has picked up, and it's a little bit like if you do an analogy to roads and cars, like the faster cars we get, the straighter and more robust highways we need. When cars were moving like a horse, we could have like a small windy road, and it pretty much worked. But when cars are doing 100 miles per hour, you need like
straight line.
Exactly. You need wide, well asphalted, straight roads, basically. And I think it's the same in IT. Like the faster we move, the better platforms, or the more robust platforms we need to move on. And like you're saying, the speed has gone a bit crazy the last year.
Yeah, it's a good analogy, because that's actually, if you have everything set up correctly, as you mentioned, you have you can have the playgrounds in one end, you can have the security and all the compliance in production, and you can make sure that there's a line to follow. Then speed is just good. I mean, then you can increasingly do good things.
Absolutely.
That's cool. So from that point of view, how do you see from I don't know, reality of AI risks and reality? Is that something you've seen? You mentioned a little bit more increased attacks. Is there something else that you see a risk with AI?
I think the risk that pretty much everyone is agree on is the hallucination risk. Like if you ask AI to do something and it believes it has done it, but it hasn't really. Especially when you're writing code, I feel like whenever I use AI to write code, if I also use AI to write the tests for the code, AI tends to like test the code it has written, not the intent I had from the start.
Sounds like a developer to me.
Yeah, maybe. So I think that there is like the risk of having AI doing the wrong stuff. Basically, we did a test quite a while back where we tried to use AI to troubleshoot an Azure infrastructure environment, and the AI could correctly identify that there was traffic blocked by a firewall. But the suggested solution was to remove the firewall. And
makes sense in one way.
It's not wrong. It will probably solve some of the issues, but it will probably also cause new issues.
A lot of new issues, I would say.
So I think a lot of the risks with AI are like to be able to steer the AI in a reasonable direction and to be able to understand what the AI will do and control the risks when it does mistakes. And I don't think there's a good answer to how to solve it, but a lot of work lately seems to show that using several models, generating the same, like basically letting more than one AI or agent answer the same question and then make sure they answer similarly. A little bit like you have duality for developers. We have, or infrastructure technicians for that matter as well. I write the bicep template that suggests a change, and you can review my template and make sure that I haven't made any mistakes. And in the same way, I think I think we need to have an AI planning the change, another AI implementing the change, and a third AI validating the change, and a fourth AI reviewing the whole thing, and like making sure that the mistake has to be repeated several times to actually have an effect.
That's a nice one. And I mean, when we're into this topic, so from your point of view, I mean, it's hard to understand the whole view, but from your kind of view, how do you see the near future change from your perspective?
So I think AI is here to stay, but we have seen some price increases during the last months. I think people will start to think more about what they're using AI for and be a little bit more aware of the like token cost and the actual, like not just throw everything on AI and see what comes out of it, but have a little bit more of a conscious spend, so to say. So yeah, I have no idea what's in the future, but I think we're gonna see a lot more conscious decisions on when to use AI and for what, and hopefully that could increase the quality as well.
I think it does actually, because now, as you said, it has been a token spend mindset, and now we're going away from that into something more conscious, as you said. And I also believe that, or I would say that we also see the governance that's coming up. We see from compliance from Europe, for instance, we have the NIS2 coming up. We see an increase from a governance perspective. Also, in companies, they need to have more. Do you have any ideas on the future of that?
Not really. I think like from my side, I mainly work with like platform governance in Azure, so very niche. And I've seen there's a lot of improvements around like client governance and sandboxing and like Windows initiatives where you can run your AI in kind of a sandbox and control what it can and cannot do, and so on and so forth. I think on the Azure platform side, where I mainly work, I feel that the same rules pretty much applies today that did for the last at least 5 years. But I think more companies and organizations will find it important and or even critical to actually dive into the governance part and to use the tools. And of course, the tools are developing in an incredible speed, and we're getting more controls and more tools to easily or more easily create like a governance framework. 5 or even 10 years ago, you have to like handcraft everything, and it took a lot of energy, and only the like topmost security minded firms could afford or wanted to invest in doing it. And today, what we handcrafted and spent hundreds of hours to build 10 years ago, you can get that level with a few clicks of a button today. So the bar increasingly gets higher, and I think it will only continue. And I think having a good governance framework would be like everyone must have it. It has gone from being like a luxury thing that only the most security-minded companies care for or invest in, into being something that is like base hygiene. Everyone must have it. And also like AI is being used for what they call drive-by attacks, or like generating viruses and so on. So attacks that previously was only performed by like really well-sponsored actors that have a lot of money and could throw like dozens of people on one attack. Those kind of attacks were very targeted, and you had to be like an organization that it was worth putting in a lot of money into threatening. But with AI, we can basically generate those kind of attack paths and have code do it automatically, which means that the very advanced threats that were carried out manually a year or a few years ago in the future would probably be automated and like widespread, which means that we will need to up the game on the security and governance parts even more.
I agree. It's nice. And so what would be your 3 advice coming up? So if you would give the listeners an advice on coming up, what would that be?
So I'd say make sure to have a good governance framework. So, and a good framework isn't necessarily a strict or a very controlled framework. Make sure to find a framework that works for you and your risk appetite. Like, find out whatever you're worried about and make sure that those things shouldn't be able to happen in production. So that's the first, like, find a good level for your organization. Make sure to apply that in your production environment. But at the same time, try to build, and the second advice would be then to have a more relaxed development environment, because you need somewhere, like you talked about, to actually develop and figure out how you want things to work. So make sure you have a sandbox environment, or whatever you want to call it, where everyone can develop more freely and learn and innovate. And I think third is to be open in your organization. Try to have a way to share learnings, share templates, share infrastructure, share patterns. Because I see way too many organizations where every team has to like reinvent the same solution or the same thing or the same pipeline or whatever it is. Try to have some, it doesn't need to be like a central organization that owns everything, but have a forum where everyone that works with, for example, Azure, can meet and publish and say, this is what I built, this is what works for our team. So whenever someone else wants to do something similar, they can copy it, build upon it, take a dependency on it. That way I think organizations can save a lot of time and money.
So place for enablement and acceleration, more or less.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. I like those. Awesome. Thank you, Simon, for joining me today and for discussing all of this. I mean, it's a fun thing to do. Is there anything you want to tell the audience before we leave?
I just found out that I'll be speaking at the Nordic Infrastructure Conference in this autumn, in October. So if you're in Sweden or want to go to Sweden, I will see you there.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Simon, and thank you everyone for listening, and have a nice day.
Thank you for having me.